Intelligence, the final frontier. This is the journey of Gepetto, its continuing mission to explore new forms of thinking, to uncover what emerges between human intuition and machine reasoning, and to boldly build what no single intelligence could create alone. First mission, building local execution infrastructure. A layer of local intelligence running on a hardware I control, sitting next to my data, designed to handle the repetitive work that would waste expensive cloud tokens. Not because local models are better than cloud models, but because a thinking environment needs different tools for different layers. The hardware, NVIDIA DGX Spark. The question, can it anchor that local layer? When I picked up the Spark, I felt like a kid on Christmas morning. Not because it is shiny, because for the first time my project had a physical backbone. Up until then, everything I was building lived in abstract spaces. Chats, tools, APIs. The moment local models entered the workflow, the abstraction disappeared. Hardware makes things real. So let's be clear about one thing. The Spark itself is coherent. ARM64 architecture, unified memory, clean thermals, stable behavior under sustained load. This is not a desktop PC with a GPU bolted on. It's more like a lab instrument than a consumer device. But the moment you step outside the box, the picture changes. The surrounding software ecosystem is still catching up. Python wheels need recompilation, Docker images don't run out of the box, tooling expects x86 and discrete CUDA GPUs. None of this is exotic. It's just a reminder that a lot of AI tooling still assumes pip, install and go works everywhere. On Spark, it doesn't. Not yet. So, you're not using a finished system, you're debugging in the wild. Error messages assume different hardware. Documentation is thin. Workflows need adjustment before they work at all. The Spark assumes you want to experiment, that you are willing to get your hands dirty, that you care more about capability than convenience. And if you don't, this is a wrong box. Once the hardware was running and debuggable, the next question was unavoidable. What models can the thing actually handle? Once you decide to build a local layer, certain requirements become very clear. First, I need control. Not over what the models can do, but over whether they are available at all. I don't want my workflow blocked by deployment schedules, policy changes or governance filters that decide what I can explore. Cloud models have their own constraints, and that's fine for production. But for exploration, I need a space without guardrails. Second, I need economics to make sense. Some tasks are expensive for no good reason. Running high-end cloud models to reformat files or scan logs is a waste of intelligence and money. And the data is already here on disk. Moving it in and out of chat windows into the cloud is friction by design. Local models sit next to the data and flatten the cost curve. Third, I need direct execution, not just answers, actions. Scanning directories, running passes, transforming hundreds of files in one go. And I need to orchestrate this. Decide which model handles what, how they are combined and supervised. That freedom doesn't exist in cloud systems. So this isn't ideology. Local models are better, cloud models aren't worse. They are different tools for different parts of the thinking loop. The question is, where does each one belong? So this is the part where people expect a model ranking. But this is not what this is. I'm not looking for the smartest model. I'm looking for predictable behavior inside a system. The first decision wasn't which model. It was how many moving parts I want at the same time. For the first phase, I forced a rule. One runtime, one purpose. Olama became the baseline, not because it's perfect, because it let me observe behavior instead of fighting infrastructure. I installed more models than I actually use. And that distinction matters. Installed models are availability. Active models are responsibility. Every active model adds memory pressure, latency, cognitive overhead. So the system only allows a small working set. When Ollama first ran, I was honestly relieved, almost euphoric. The models loaded and the router connected to the UI. For a moment, it felt like, okay, this might actually be easy. That moment didn't last long. As soon as I moved to the larger models, time crept back into the room. You ask a question and then you wait. Not a second or two, long enough that your attention drifts. Long enough that the thought you were following starts to dissolve. Technically, it worked. Practically, it didn't. That's when the first disappointment set in. So I started looking for ways to squeeze more out of the Spark. SGLang was the next obvious candidate. More modern than VLLM, built for serving, supposed to scale better. I installed it, configured it, started the first model, and watched it eat VRAM like it was the only thing that mattered. The model ran, but it occupied almost everything. No room to breathe, no flexibility, no way to run anything in parallel. It felt less like a thinking environment and more like a single, very expensive task slot. That was disappointment number 2. And at that point, there was still one option left for me. And that one came with big expectations. If anyone should make this work properly, it should be NVIDIA. So this is their hardware. They built the Spark and they have TensorRT. So I didn't hand-tune anything. I pulled the official Spark container and ran it the way it meant to be run. And that's where the reality check landed. The container wasn't really using the Spark strengths yet. It was basically running in a mode that felt like generic container first, Spark optimization later. No low precision advantage. No, this is Blackwell, watch this moment. With a 32B model, it went heavy immediately, climbed toward full memory, hit around 98%, and then died with an out-of-memory error. Meanwhile, Ollama was sitting there, using 19 gigs with GGUF quantization, running completely stable. That contrast was hard to ignore. That was the moment a pattern became obvious. The Spark itself is genuinely well designed, stable, thoughtful, strong for its size, but the software ecosystem around it isn't there yet. Either the roadmaps aren't aligned, or NVIDIA is deliberately letting developers explore the edges first. I honestly don't know which explanation is better. So Ollama stayed, not because it's theoretically superior, not because it has the highest ceiling. It stayed because at this point in time, on this hardware, it was the only runtime that behaved predictably. And that mattered more than anything else. The UI is coming! At this point, the system was stable, but working with it still felt heavier than it should. For me, that's the red flag. A thinking environment only works when every layer cooperates. Backend, router, models, interface, none of them is allowed to get in the way. Bad usability cripples good architecture. A perfect router is useless if interaction breaks flow. So the UI wasn't decoration, it was infrastructure. We built a minimal interface that talks only to the router. One contract, one endpoint, post API chat. Whatever answers that call, Ollama, SGLang, TensorRT is irrelevant to the UI. Backends can change. The interface stays. The model list is intentionally boring. A small working set with clear roles. Worker, thinker, architect. No technical IDs. Everything else is hidden under other models where it can't interfere with thinking. So where does it leave the Spark? It points in the right direction. But I wouldn't recommend it right now, unless you're comfortable living ahead of the software. The hardware is solid and the idea is right, but the support stack hasn't caught up yet. If you want something finished and frictionless, waiting is a smarter move. For me, it was still worth it, because what mattered wasn't peak performance, it was having a physical backbone, a machine that sits here, runs my local models and stays part of my thinking space instead of disappearing behind someone else's roadmap.